So, what if I told you that confident people don't actually make fewer mistakes than you do? In this explainer, we're going to dive into how self-assured people think and show you exactly how you can retrain your brain to handle mistakes just like they do.
You know, we have this image of confident people as being totally flawless, like they're the ones who just never seem to mess up. But is that really where their confidence comes from? Or is there something else going on, deep inside their brain?
And here it is. This is the key. Confident people make just as many mistakes as anyone else. They process them in a totally different way. It's not about avoiding errors at all. It's about having a completely different neural response when an error happens.
Okay, to really get this, let's use an analogy. Think of your brain as a giant, super complex filing system. Every single mistake you make gets filed away somewhere, and how your brain labels that file, well, that makes all the difference in the world.
Just look at the two systems right here. For the exact same mistake, the default brain files it under a tab that says, "Proof I'm inadequate." That mistake becomes part of your identity. But the confident brain, it files it under incorrect action. It totally separates the behavior from your self-worth. So a mistake is just data, It's not a final verdict on who you are.
So, the big question is, how do we build this new, more effective way of thinking? Well, it all comes down to 5 specific trainable habits that can literally rewire how your brain responds to messing up. Let's break them down.
And honestly, this is the most empowering part. These are not personality traits you're just born with. Not at all. These are 5 skills, 5 habits that absolutely anyone can learn and develop over time.
Okay, habit number 1. Start treating your mistakes like typos. Seriously, think about it. When you make a typo while you're writing, do you have an existential crisis about your ability to communicate? No. You see it as an incorrect action, you fix it, and you move on. This is all about training your brain to see all mistakes that way, as temporary errors, not some deep, permanent flaw in your character.
Second, confident brains are efficient. They don't let mistakes just hang around and fester. They have a super fast 4-step process. First, acknowledge it, no shame. Second, figure out the lesson. Third, fix it if you can. And fourth, and this is the most important step, you mentally file it away as complete. Boom, the loop is closed, the emotional baggage is gone.
Habit 3 is all about that little voice in your head, your internal narrator. The story you tell yourself about your mistakes really matters, because your brain is always listening. It physically rewires itself based on that story, which means your choice of words is incredibly powerful.
And here's a perfect example of what I mean. Saying, "I handled that poorly," frames the mistake as a single event that happened in the past. It was a moment. But saying, "I'm terrible at this," well, that frames it as a permanent part of your identity. That one little linguistic shift makes all the difference. It reinforces that the error was a state of doing, not a state of being. The 4th habit is all about reframing your expectations. Look, if you're pushing yourself, if you're trying anything new or difficult, mistakes aren't just possible, they are a guaranteed part of the process. A confident brain is trained to see them not as failures, but as little signposts on the map.
I love this phrase. When a mistake inevitably happens, there's no shock, no shame spiral. The internal response is simply, there it is, right on schedule. This way, you normalize imperfection. It just becomes part of the process, turning what feels like a failure into simple, useful data.
And finally, habit 5, don't overdo it. You know that feeling after you mess up, that frantic urge to overcompensate and prove you're still competent? A confident person resists that urge. They understand that one slip doesn't mean they've lost all credibility. They don't feel the need to earn back trust. They just correct their course and keep moving forward.
So, let's bring this all home. What we're really talking about here is a fundamental shift in how you see the world. Confidence isn't something you just have. It's something your brain does. It's a skill you can build. And if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this quote. True, lasting confidence comes from training your brain to be your ally, not your own worst critic. It's about building an internal system that doesn't use your own imperfections as ammunition against you. So let's be super clear. This isn't about sucking it up or just growing a thicker skin. This is a cognitive upgrade. You are literally building a faster, more efficient, and more accurate way for your brain to process the world. And that's the real game changer. So I'll leave you with this challenge. Think about a mistake that's been renting space in your head for a while. Right now, what's the first mistake you're going to pull out of that "I'm inadequate" folder and finally refile as complete?